All right, so we're going to be going over Genesis chapter 1, and this is a deep dive. So I'm going to try to make these a little bit less than 10 minutes apiece. And then there's going to be snippets that I put out of these studies so you can, get the bits and pieces. But if you want to watch the entire thing, that's what this is. So I am in the ESV. It doesn't really matter what translation. If you're in the King James, it's perfectly fine. You'll understand what I'm saying. So in the beginning, I want to stop right there real quick. A lot of people, they try to twist this into some sort of like epochs of time. There's nothing in this text that allows for that. It says Bereshit in the Hebrew. That those words in Hebrew are never used to denote anything else but the first point of something, right? So there's no gap before this. I mean, you can believe that there is, but there's nothing in the text that supports that perspective. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So no one was helping him. God created the heavens and the earth. The angels weren't there helping him. I don't believe they had been created yet, but it doesn't say that. So it doesn't really tell us when he creates the angels, but we know since the angels are part of the creation, they are created after the beginning. We know that much, right? In the beginning means the beginning, and everything that comes after that is after the beginning. Hopefully that's common sense at this point. God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. This is tohu and bohu in the Hebrew. It just means it has no order. We don't need to make this into some well, there was a world that it became disordered. That's not what it says. It says the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Now, I honestly believe that God doesn't tell us stuff for no reason. And I think the reason he's telling us that the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters is to show his concern for the details of creation. He really is, this is something that means something to him. Now, you may get something different out of that, but I think what you'll get from the entire Bible is that our God is a personal God. He is a personal God. He gets angry. He's jealous. He presents himself as a personal being. Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. So this is the earth is radiating the glory of God. So God is essentially inputting the energy into creation to create like bioluminescence, essentially. This is light coming from the earth. This is the glory of God shining from the earth. And a lot of people say, well, that's not scientific. Well, neither is a ball, expanding into squirrels over billions of years, but the scientific community believes that. So anyway, so this is light before the sun. That's what it says, and there's no problem with that because he's God. I mean, he just created a whole universe. I think he can do whatever he wants. And God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness, God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. Now, this says what it says, the first day. This is not 1,000 years. And some people will say, well, the scripture says 1,000 years are like a day and a day like 1,000 years. That's something that God is saying to express that he's not concerned with time the way you are. It doesn't mean that there's a code every time you see a day, it's 1,000 years, because then things would really get crazy if we read the Bible that way. So the evening and the morning of the first day. So on the first day, he creates light and darkness, right? He creates everything in the beginning. The space is created first, and then the planet Earth is created. It's without form and void, and he creates light and separates the light from the darkness. Some people believe that this is sort of symbolic for the separation of good and evil. Could be. It's a good connection. I'm never dogmatic about those types of things, but it does seem to be a rational idea that God is showing you that he is separating good from evil. He's essentially separating the seed of the woman from the seed of the serpent, right? Which we'll see later on. So that's the first day, it's over. And God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters, right? This is a space. So essentially you have the earth covered with water, and then there's a space, and then there's another layer of water above it, right? And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven. And there was evening and there was morning the second day. So he's creating the heaven up above. The clouds and all those things you see, that's the heaven above. And apparently there's a layer of water above the heaven. That's what it says. And there was evening and morning the second day. So by the second day, we have the heavens created, right? We have light created. And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. So now God is revealing that there was land underneath the water. And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas, and God saw that it was good. What else is interesting is that the Jewish people sometimes reference the ocean or water as the Gentile nations. So essentially, someone could say that, God is revealing Israel to the Gentile nations in this story, that he's bringing the waters together so that he can reveal the solid ground underneath, or maybe you could see it as he's revealing his plan. There's all different types of ways you can go with that, but what we do know is he's just gathered the water together into seas, into basins of water, right? And so now we have the earth, which can be seen. So now it's looking more like planet Earth at this point, right? And God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth. So pay attention to these words, the plants yielding seed, because this is going to come up later in chapter 2 when there's a supposed contradiction. These are plants that don't require cultivation. These are plants that grass and stuff like that, fruit trees that have a seed in themselves. They don't require cultivation. And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the third day, right? So we have the third day. Now we have vegetation. The earth is coming together very nicely. And God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, which is what we use stars for now, right? Navigation, all types of things. And civilizations in the past have more heavily relied on the stars because we have modern technology. And for days and for years, and let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the fourth day. Right? So, pretty straightforward, right? God is just step by step. I've had people ask, why is he doing this step-by-step process? Why doesn't he just do it on one day? And I think it's because it's just his character. He's a God of order. He likes doing things a certain way. He likes to see things play out in order. It seems just to be the way he operates. He has specific ways he likes to do things, and he does seem to be a God of order. He does seem to have his purposes behind everything he does, and so sometimes he may be doing something that makes no sense to us in the moment, and then later on we see it. I think at this point, it could be referring to the periods of time leading up to the second coming. Some people think that it's going to be 7,000 years total, things like that. So there's all kinds of, but ultimately we know it leads up to the Sabbath day, which is a Saturday, rest day. So it's 6 days of labor, and then we rest from our works. That definitely points to Jesus. The Sabbath day definitely points to Jesus. Right? You have the Passover, which the blood goes on the doorpost. You escape the angel of unalivement, and then obviously you have the Sabbath day on Saturday where you rest from your labors, which is a picture of you not having to try to please God by performance anymore, and just resting in his provision, because he would provide everything you needed the Friday before the Sabbath, right? So God's provision is always there for us. Okay, and God said, let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens. So God created the great sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm according to their kinds. So it's kinds. So there's kinds of animals, right? These kinds of animals can reproduce with each other. That's the system that this is laying out. And every winged bird according to its kind. Like somebody said the other day, well, are bats birds? Well, back then, a lot of people classified them as birds because they looked like birds and they flew like birds. So they're not classifying things in the way that we do now. We have much more sensitive definitions and classifications, and you just can't apply that on them because they didn't have those sciences back then. They weren't concerned about classifying things the way we are now. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters in the seas and let the birds multiply on the earth. And there was evening and there was morning the fifth day. So you see that animals can't even multiply without God's blessing. Everything you have, every ability you have was given to you by God, right? You have to be blessed to do these things because you're image bearers. So you don't have anything on your own. You're supposed to be expressions of him and then appreciate him for what he's doing. But most people think that they try to take it for themselves. They do the same thing that Adam and Eve did in the garden. They're trying to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil instead of submitting to God. So that's the fifth day. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, and creeping things and beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Now this isn't angels. We're made in the image of God. Why is he saying our image and our likeness? Because of the Trinity. Because he's trying to express himself to you. And a lot of people say, well, the Trinity just doesn't make sense. It doesn't need to make sense. He just wants you to know who he is. And some of it's not going to make sense. I think that's pretty awesome that he's revealing things that we're not even going to be able to comprehend because he wants to fully be known, right? If you think Jesus is the Father, then none of his conversations with his Father make sense. Jesus is the Son. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over the livestock and over all the earth and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. You remember when Satan tried to tempt Jesus saying, hey, if you worship me, I'll give you all the kingdoms of the earth? Satan doesn't have the ability to do that. He was lying. Satan cannot give you any kingdoms. God sets up kings and he is sovereign over the earth. So it's amazing how the enemy tries to deceive. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female, he created them. He created man, male and female. The female came out of the man. You're both essential for the Imago Dei. You can't have the image of God without love. So you have the husband and the wife, which gives you that companionship, that bond. And what replaces that in the future is your relationship with the Lord. A good relationship with the Lord is better than a million spouses. Having him in your home and paying attention to him and walking with him is the most beautiful experience you'll ever have. Just dedicating yourself to him. It's peace. He protects you. He takes care. It's amazing. God is amazing. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. See, that's what they were supposed to be doing. Multiplying and filling the earth and subduing it. Right? And have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth, right? And so God is giving them dominion, is giving them control over the planet. They're in charge because they're image bearers, right? And God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. So there was no unalivement. There was no meat eating. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that there's a problem with meat eating now. But in the garden, there was no unalivement. There was no death in the garden. So they were eating plants. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning the sixth day. Now remember, Jesus ate fish. So Jesus is eating meat too. So obviously there's no sin in eating meat. But in the garden, there was just no death. There was no animals to unalive. It would have been just a perfect paradise with two ignorant human beings that don't really know God, which is why he didn't plan it that way, thank God. All right, so that's Genesis chapter 1. And Genesis chapter 2 is going to get into focusing on day 6. Right, and so we'll do that next time. And until then, God bless you. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.